if you look at our Middle East region, there are so many of those big problems that have been solved for us Western way.
Yeah, a lot.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's about time for us here in the region to solve our problems our way and to start exporting our way to the world like the West has exported to us for so long. Right? And there are so many things that we excel at. And I think that's the point. The point is, one of the things that I never shared that story, but it really affected me. Do you remember when the 12 Days War, when Israel was bombing Iran?
Iran, yeah.
And there was that reel on the internet that really went viral of a wedding in Lebanon, where the Lebanese were dancing while the missiles were flying on top of them.
Remember
that? It was so inspiring of how honestly fun-loving the Lebanese are. How resilient they are, having lived through so many wars in their life. But then there was a wave afterwards, where you started to see Palestinian children singing on guitars, Iranian artists, beautiful Iranian women singing beautiful music that suddenly tells the whole world, no, we're not savages. We're actually really very interesting women and very interesting humans. Okay? And somehow that perception change of, we actually have a lot to contribute. We are very artistic. We're very cultured. We're very ethical. We're very kind. We're very. As we start exporting this more to the world, we create a region that is attractive to the world. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that prediction, but what created the U.S. economy was in the 70s how the U.S. attracted talent like me. Okay? I mean, I was nothing then, but people who were very highly specialized in certain skills, whether from Russia or from China or from Japan or from India, were allowed to immigrate into the U.S. to build all of those businesses. And you look at it today, most of the AI CEOs in the US are Chinese origin. Okay, most of the tech entrepreneurs are Indian, and so on and so forth. Because of the disruptions that are about to happen in the West, many people are going to leave the West. Those are people that have a lot of money, they have a lot of skills, they have a lot of influence. Okay, and shouldn't we find a way to get them to come here? One very interesting, because of my ties to Egypt, one very interesting sort of genre of social media reels that I see are about Americans that go and live in Egypt, or Europeans that go and live in Egypt and sing the praises of Egypt. Okay, and that applies for everywhere in the region. By the way, when people come and interact with us, they go like, "Oh my God, they're so wonderful," and they told me otherwise my whole life, but look at them, how generous, how kind, how respectful, how safe we are. And suddenly, when you start to, if we start to capture that talent, because by the way, if you leave America today, you wouldn't have a space to go back to in Latin America. It's not very safe. You wouldn't have a space to go back to in Europe. Okay, it's collapsing economically. Taxes are extremely high. You could probably go back to the east, to Asia, but it's sometimes unfamiliar. But yes, absolutely. Or you could go back to the Middle East. You could move to the Middle East, and we can attract so much of that talent. And of course, it's not about Saudization. It's not that we only want to build businesses with Saudis, or Emiratization. We don't only want to build businesses with Emiratis. We want to bring all of that talent and do the role that America did in the 70s.
You're seeing that, right, on some level?
For sure.
Singapore and Dubai had the biggest influx of millionaires last year at the expense of London.
London was a disaster last year.
Biggest exodus.
Yeah. Biggest exodus ever, and the highest net worth, right? And of course, you know what that means, that the taxes that those people are not going to be paying next year are going to be loaded to the people below them. Okay, so the next wave of of taxes are going to have to come from the citizens of the UK, and so many of them will leave, and that cycle will continue.
Isn't that alarm bells? If you are on the country that is on the wrong side of that, don't you make adjustments at some point?
What adjustments can you make? So the problem is, if you have a war machine that requires you to spend $1 trillion a year, and what can you do if you've spent all of your Social Security money? Some people are even speculating that the US sold all its gold. Okay, what do? You have to run that economy, and every president comes in for 4 years, or every prime minister for the UK. It's a limited, time number of years, and basically they don't want to solve the big problems. They just want to navigate. They want to do the best they can by borrowing more, by taxing more, by saving their voters, not voters, their funders, a little more money, because all of those politicians are elected because of billionaire money, right? And so the whole system is very difficult to break out of. And, Bernie Sanders was on Jon Stewart the other day talking about how rigged the U.S. political system is, because you're either in the AIPAC camp, where you're influenced by a foreign nation trying to get the politicians by funding them or funding against their opposition, or you're in the camp of the billionaires who are simply saying, I'll help you get elected if you help me reduce my taxes. Okay? And these are very entrenched systems. And so if those systems exist, how do you break out of them? The only way you can break out of them, like I've mentioned many times, is through pain. And how does that pain happen? Things continue to collapse until, a Mamdani shows up in New York City, and people go like, yeah, enough of the old white American guy that we've elected for so many years. Let's elect something different and see what happens.
All of my growing up years, we were led to believe that monarchies are not the way, and you guys are oppressed. And you look at what systems are actually working today in the GCC and the Arab world at large. I think that governance is working a lot better than someone who's in and out the door every 4 years.
No, but it's more than that. So there was a survey. I don't remember who. I think it was Queen Rania, I think, was speaking at Google at a point in time. And she was mentioned, don't quote me on that, but I remember hearing it in one of the events where she was there. And the speaker said that there was a survey in the Middle East around what people want. Do they want democracy? Right? And most people said, I don't want to spend my life thinking about politics. I want a fair leader. Okay, and when we have fair leaders in this region, you get things done. There is no debate about it. I don't know if I'm allowed to share this, but I got Eric Schmidt here, to Saudi when I was heading emerging markets. Abdurrahman Tarabzouni was our country manager in Saudi. Abdurrahman's very capable, and Eric, in his difficult manner, calls me, and says, I want to come and visit the region. Can we get me to meet the important people? And so overnight, Abdurrahman makes a few calls. The week later, we get Eric to meet with true leadership in Saudi Arabia. And unlike what he thought of the region, he basically said, I don't like this. This is why we're not investing. And I can literally tell you, without mentioning names, top incredible leaders in this place would put a blank piece of paper in front of him and say, explain to us what would work differently. We will see. If we like it, we'll make it happen. If we like it, we'll make it happen is why decisions such as Vision 2030 can happen here. Okay? And imagine, if you were going through Congress taking votes on the big, beautiful bill, and how long that would have taken. Now, the trick is this. The trick is most of our people don't recognize the challenges and the complexities that our leaders will have to go through. Okay? And I know some people are listening to me now and saying, our leaders are not fair. If you sat in their chair and had to balance all of the global powers and had to balance all of the dirtiness of the intelligence agencies that are operating everywhere in the world, and had to balance, you would have made your decisions unlike what you, just reading the newspaper, think should be made. Okay, if your sovereign wealth is tied to a specific currency, and you had to make economic decisions that made sure that your people had prosperity and so on and so forth, and I have to say, I'm impressed. I will openly say that I've lived everywhere in the world. The biggest difference, though, which is really mind-blowing, and I used to say that publicly to people in the UK when I lived in London, and people would go like, what are you talking about? And I say, look, politicians in this part of the world, or leaders in this part of the world, will make decisions without really consulting with the people for the benefit of the people. Politicians in your part of the world will lie through their teeth to make it look like a democracy. They will make you feel fear. They will make you feel that everything's going to collapse unless you vote for what they believe is what they want to do. They'll make you believe that this is your benefit when in reality it isn't. And eventually you will have wasted a year of your life in a debate like Brexit. Okay? And eventually you'll find yourself in Brexit. And it's not that great for your nation. And you'll think that it's a democracy. That's the worst thing you can ever do. It's never been a democracy, not in my lifetime. It's just been a very clever propaganda machine that made you think that you're making the decisions. But what decisions?
It's literally campaigning 101.
It's campaigning through lies all the time, through lies and fear.